Bonjour, bonsoir. Ça parle dépend à qui est que ou à brancher rejoindre nous. Je tiens à me trouver que l'important pour moi partager avec nous des servantes ça des ça bon Dieu révélé lui des ça le dit. Elles sont prophétesses. Depuis longtemps, on m'attendait tout bagay à parler, pas gen moun bon Dieu encore, pas gen moun qui peut parler pour bon Dieu encore. Tout le monde c'est bluff. Et tout prophète c'est faux. C'est pas vrai du tout. Bon Dieu était toujours à parler avec moun limité à pas. Même que moun apparaît sous non li dit c'est non bon Dieu a parlé, c'est non c'est et pourtant c'est pas vrai. Mais bon Dieu était toujours à parler. Il était toujours à parler. Il était toujours gain vrai malgré 400 combien faux a dit menti sous non. Mais il était gain prophète Jérémie qui était vrai qui t'a dénoncé faux ça. Eh bien servante ça les dit c'est prophétesse côté que la bon Dieu révélé li de ça qui passé mais dit dans le monde entier mais spécialement pays aux États-Unis qui c'est grande puissance ils sont américaines mais nous pas le temps de ça le pas le dire malgré c'est en anglais mais m'a fait tout possible moyen pour me garder si me traduire pour nous et c'est nous aider nous comprendre ça le dire et après que traduction apparaît dans écrit nous capable garder ça là tendre ça là dire et garder écouter et tendre et nous même qui parler anglais tout nous message là pour nous capable recevoir message là tout en anglais mais si nous même nous va parler anglais eh bien moins traduire en créole dans langue pas nous pour nous capable essayer comprendre en nous suivre ensemble. Tande ça le dit comment pays ça par plonger dans bas fond. Tande oui. Comment pays ça par plonger dans bas fond. Tande.
Lord gave this to me as I was going over the prophecy called Hear the Word of the Lord. Today, May 23rd, as I was going through that prophecy, the Lord began to say these things to me. And please listen. The American leaders are going to be the reason America collapses from within because they are orchestrating her downfall. They have sold her for pieces of silver which makes them rich. And there is no concern for the nation. Her enemies are growing bold. American leaders are outside of American affections. They have grown cold towards their homeland, and they will sacrifice her in a bid to enrich themselves. They are planning a takedown of American institutions and aim to replace them with a new form of government that does not give people access to question, participate in, investigate, or opt out of the new regime. They aim to make these changes. They have begun these changes, and they will be successful at them. America will be a communist-style government with an elite at the top and a supporting structure connected to and dependent on the ruling class. But the people will be crushed beneath the boot of tyrants, and there will be darkness upon this land. This is the word of the Lord Jesus Christ. The light will go out in Babylon, and all her noisome revelry will cease in favor of a controlling form of government where very few people are considered worthy of grace. So God is saying that America's leaders are basically going to be the reason that the country falls down because they're actively orchestrating the fall and the takeover of this nation. A few prophecies that you can look at to understand are any prophecy that contains Barack Obama. Any prophecy on the Master's Voice prophecy blog that contains Barack Obama, you will get at least a good chunk of understanding about why the future is going to be the way it is. Barack Obama is the power behind the throne, a power that has never gone away. You may think the power has gone away. You may think, please listen, you may think that Donald Trump was an era that broke away from the tyranny of democracy or the tyranny of the Democrats, and you are just confused. You are confused if you think that, because the Lord already revealed in the prophecies concerning Donald Trump that Donald Trump is nothing but a federal agent. He is nothing but an apparent departure from the norm. Donald Trump exists to give the impression to the American people that there actually are choices in America. If you think that, oh, the Republicans are very different and the Democrats are very different, old prophecies of mine, God says, just imagine a bird with its two wings. This is one wing red and the other wing blue. It's two wings on the same bird. They are one and the same. There is no choice here. This nation has been captured to collusion. Collusion means one side getting together with the other side so that they can symbiotically work on a common plan. America does not actually have democracy. America has apparent participative government, and operating behind it is another government. Because there's only going to be one player standing at the end of it, and that player is Barack Obama. Like it, love it, hate it, believe it, or not. The final player standing upon the American political landscape at a time where blood is going to be as common on the ground as rain and snow. The final player standing will be ex-president number 44, Barack Obama. That is the final estimation of America's political future. Everything else that has happened is just, it's basically entertainment for the kids. So this is one such prophecy that shows that there is an unseen hand. Nothing is unseen to Jesus. Jesus has these eyes that can tell you the temperature of your blood at any given time. Nothing is unseen to the Master. And so let's hear what the Master has to say. So I had a series of dreams, and the first dream I saw a group of women. These were American women. These were definitely women in power. These were by turns, I would say, I think anyway, they had to be either political women, but among them was quite a few women who were the wives of powerful men. Not all political, but definitely women of power and women connected to power. There's women who have a lot of influence, not because of anything they're doing. They may be at home baking apple pie, but the man that they're baking apple pie for, if you knew who he was and if you knew how much power and influence he has when he enters a room or when anyone is called into his presence, power trickles down, brothers and sisters. If a woman is the wife of a king, and if the woman has the ear of that king, she is, in a way, the king. So I saw powerful American women, and they had all gathered on a very nice front porch, and they were having just an afternoon sister affair. They had punch and cake and tea, and they were sitting in circles. So there was an inner circle, and then there was another circle, and then there was another circle. And humble little me, God had put me in one of the seats that was in the outermost circle, right? So this is a dream. I was seated in one of the most outer circles, and what these women were talking about utterly belied the scene. So it was such a baby shower, kind of bridal shower, relaxed scene. But these women were discussing how to kill America. They were discussing her downfall as easily as if they were discussing clothes on sale at the mall. They were talking about how to make America fall. They were talking about when America should fall. They were talking about what the outcome should be, who should get what when it falls. And I couldn't believe what I heard. And I couldn't contain the look on my face. I couldn't have a poker face and just go, no. They were so laissez-faire about it. They were so casual, but I was stunned and I was shocked. And I think it's a good thing that I was at the outer end, because nobody saw my face. Nobody even cared that I was there. And so the discussion was getting very deep and very detailed. When I woke up, I could not remember the details, but I know that these people were planning the fall of America. They were complimenting the cake and filling up cups, and yet at the same time they were discussing how many people were going to die according to different acts that they were going to bring about. Remember, if the woman is like the king, then you know that it is the kings who will bring about this act. So they were talking about, what if the masses rebel? What if the people fight back? What if the people figure it out? We'll handle that. Okay, we'll do this if the people do this, and we'll try this. And if they catch on to it, then we'll get around it by doing that. They were engaged in seditious activity. Sedition is when you use words, or when you plan events, or when you plan acts, or when you create organizations that incite rebellion against the established order. Sedition is when you look at the edifice of a nation and begin to go, how can I weaken it? How can I pull it down and destroy it? And so as I listened to these women, it got too much for me. I got up from my chair. I went down the steps. I looked in the right and the left direction as if to say, where shall I go? How shall I get away from these people? And then I started to walk north in the dream. And then a voice came to me and said, sedition is at work in America. She is about to be torn apart. The yeast of discontent is fast at work in her, but there will be no cohesion to keep her together. She will fall apart. She will be torn apart. The architects of destruction from within her and also from without will destroy this nation and bring it down to rubble, which is just nothing but crushed and broken stones, and bare bones in the time to come. This is the word of the Lord. Now I woke up when I heard that voice speaking, and there was a vision before my eyes, and what I saw was a Tupperware container with a blue lid. And I couldn't tell what was inside the container, but I could see that foam was vigorously coming out of the sides of that lid. And as I looked, I saw that it was yeast, and that this yeast had somehow come into contact with water. Now, anybody who bakes knows that to activate yeast, it can't stay dry. You have to put water or milk or something on it, and then it goes into action. And so I saw that the yeast was fizzing and fighting its way out of the container. And the impression and the understanding that came to my heart is that America was like a powder keg of ammunition that's been lit. Just like those old cartoon balls, the black cartoon ball with the stem, the little stem, it looks like a little apple. And then you light the stem and you watch the fuse come down to the bomb, and then poof, it goes. And so I remembered, and I shared here, that yeast in the scripture represents spoilage. It represents corruption, and it represents ruin. In fact, this is why Jesus always tells us to keep our souls free of the yeast. He even said, beware of the yeast of the Pharisees. Why? Because he was saying that the teachings of the Pharisees, when they enter your heart, they will fizz and bubble and corrupt everything that is true and holy and good about the scriptures in you. Yeast also represents sin. And so I knew that the nation was being shown as a container of yeast that is bursting its boundaries because sin is overflowing in the United States and finally coming out into the open. This has been a year where we have seen quite some scandals, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't matter if you live in the deepest jungles of Papua New Guinea. As long as you have Wi-Fi and you've been watching America, then you have surely seen some things this year. And my guess is that there will be more to come. So the Lord said that there will be no warning given to this nation. that forces that are larger than America will squeeze and squeeze and squeeze like a python or anaconda. And then I saw a huge snake. I am not talking about just a snake. I'm not talking about anything that you've seen on TV with CGI. This thing was as big as a tree or more, the size of its coils, and it was wrapped around in coils at the base, but the head was awake, right? And I remembered, right, that when a snake is coiled at the bottom with its body raised up, if the head is visible, that snake is giving you a warning. So the most famous snake that we see like that is the cobra. The cobra will stay coiled, but the head will bob and weave. And the snake is letting you know, I'm not happy. I'm upset. Stay away from me, right? If you don't antagonize that snake, it will go down. But the snake that I saw was not a snake that kills by striking. The snake that I saw was a python or an anaconda. It's the kind of snake that relies on its coils to wrap around the body of its victim, and then it kills by squeezing the life out of the prey until you finally die. And so the Lord brought me to understand that it is slow, patient, hidden forces working slowly, squeezing, that will squeeze the life out of this nation. God made me to understand the decline of America is exactly as I said in the beginning of this video. It's not going to be something that just people wake up and be like, let's break it apart. No, this is something that people have sat and carefully considered. This is something that people have planned for decades and decades and decades, more decades than I've been alive, probably more decades than some of you have been alive. But some of you have been alive long enough to watch this slow decline. God has spoken to you and let you understand that there are hidden hands at work that have been against this nation since way past the last few administrations that we've seen. And now that they are coming to the pinnacle of their great plan, ladies and gentlemen, these men, these women will not let anything stand in their way. Understand that in this, these things exist, and yet I would venture to say that even though they exist and they're becoming more mainstream, more and more people are waking up to this and understanding it, also understand that even the people that you think are the ones responsible, even the faces that have been uncovered and we think, oh, we know who they are now. Brothers and sisters, hear the word of the Lord. We do not know who these people truly are. They are cloaked in secrecy, and in fact, the ones that we do know are willing to take all the blame. They're willing to be the fall guy for the ones in secret. They fear the ones in secret so greatly that they don't mind if the public thinks, oh, this guy is part of this group and that guy is part of that group, because none of them would dare, on pain of death, to actually disclose the names of the real people who are at the heart of these organizations and societies. So the Lord said that across this nation, when it is destroyed and when it finally falls to pieces, you will find the footprints of these secret ones, men and women who indulge their evil desires without telling this nation what it's going to cost them, or revealing the true picture of who benefits from the decisions that are taken in America. Hear the prophetic word of the Lord. This nation is on her way to destruction, and nothing will be done to prevent it. Her demise has been set, for she sits under the sentence of a ticking clock. America, your hour is spent. Every plan is in place to topple you from the inside. The architects of Babylon's destruction are in her midst. The finishing touches are being added, but the plan was made long ago. Beware. Beware to those who sit at home saying, our government is safety. Our government is security. Our government is making changes. We will be great again. I say to you, No greatness is coming your way except a very great burning. America will be afflicted. Fire from the sky, fallout from 1,000 weapons descending on multiple cities at once. Sudden attack, sudden burning, a very great burning. Babylon's smoke will be visible on the satellite map. Great will be the rage of your enemies. Great will be your punishment. Great will be the fall of this nation. Great her destruction. Great wailing and gnashing of teeth. I say to you, without restraint and with repetition, treachery. Treachery from within. Suddenly it comes. This is the word of the Lord. And so I started out by saying that God repeats himself often because the desire of God is for us to really hear what he is saying to the church, to the nations, to those who are backslidden, and to the nation of America in particular. Hear the word of the Lord. This nation will be taken. Suddenly, she is already infected like a cancer. And what is that cancer? That cancer is men and women calling themselves Americans. They appear American, but I say to you that they have no American heart, they have no American love, and they have no American sentiment whatsoever to see this nation continue her tenure as a great nation. She has been judged by the Lord for her sins already. So as we continue the America series, we will be looking at the sins that God has charged America and said, you are guilty of this, you are guilty of this, you are guilty of this. But in addition to her own sin, America's enemies are not only those that she has angered outside of her borders. America's enemies are those who appear American but have no love for her. They've sold her for the proverbial 30 pieces of silver, and they are actively working from within, treachery from within, to drag her down, to expose her, to hand her over to her enemies like Judas handed Jesus over to the Pharisees, and to watch her destruction. The Lord has said this from a very safe distance. Their intention is not to suffer with you at all. Their intention is to see this nation destroyed and to watch it fall so that they can have their new world order. May the Lord have mercy on us. This is Celestial. This is the Master's voice. This will be the last one for today. As you can see, the light has faded, but I've done what I can. I will be back in time to bring more prophecies as the Lord moves me. Until then, God bless you and goodbye. The Lord gave this to me as I was going over the prophecy called Hear the Word of the
Bon, et ça c'est servante là. Il est en déjà tout ça. Quand même bon Dieu qu'on est. Et pour qui tout bagaille ça yo paré pour arriver avertissement pas tout y kokobé c'est parole bon Dieu malgré qu'il y a un pile monde qui parle non bon Dieu dit yo mais quand même nous capables avec un discernement nous capables connaître qui est-ce qui parle dans bon Dieu tout bon oui qui est-ce qui bail menti parce que bon Dieu connaît yo bon Dieu connaît tout monde qui bail menti yo et tout seulement faites attention avec yo moi souhaite que nous va prendre avertissement ça yo et gens que c'est votre lundi là côté que Américain gain pour le plonger gain pour le prendre coup sibit mais ennemi yo paré coup pour lui la prendre un coup pas comprendre mais quand même nous connaît même avec peuple Israël là pour quelle raison ennemi un pilon lui c'est parce qu'il était tombé dans désobéissance bon Dieu était lagué lui pour ennemi en faire ça livrer avec eux parce que yo étaient tombés en désobéissance. Et nous voyons que comment Amérique quand même mettait bon Dieu dehors, a fait bon Dieu, ça pas pour eux encore. A fait ça qui bien, qui en priorité, bien pas en priorité encore. Moralité a pas en priorité encore. Nous voyons c'est toute bagaille abomination yo, tout ça pas bon, tout ça pas fait bon Dieu plaisir. C'est bagaille ça yo plus mettre en question, c'est bagaille ça yo mettre plus en priorité. Eh bien, servante là, qui c'est prophétesse, c'est le show. Il dit que, à cause de toute bagaille ça, yo, eh bien, Amerika pourra tomber. Il pourra tomber. Il pourra tomber. Il y a plein de monde qui pense que c'est président Trump qui pourra le président, qui pourra le ceci, qui pourra le cela. Mais, toute bagaille gon façade, gon couverture. Servante là, d'après servante là, il dit c'est pas président Trump, les gens pensent là. Et tout ça que pas le fait, c'est pour Barack Obama capable de retourner au pouvoir. Et c'est lui-même qui a retourné et cap là qui va finir payer ça net. Je souhaite que nous va comprendre. Et on fait mieux de moi-même pour nous écouter l'explication. Plus un petit résumé. Parce que c'est maintenant parler le clair. Et tout bas, yo translate là tout et traduit. Nous capable voir yo. Nous voyons yo traduit. Garder yo, lire yo et tendre yo. Et puis on va comprendre ce qui a passé. Que bon Dieu bénisse.